Hey everybody, it's Herc Magnus here, and I want to talk to you about a new feature of Project Supremacy v3, and that is ratings only schema. So we already have and know about review schema. So that's something like when someone types in BitClub Network review and they see a listing like this where it says the rating has 9 reviews and it's got a 5-star rating. So we can click on this page, and what we can do is we can see Project Supremacy's features that allow us to grab these ratings. So if I scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see that we have this rating where we can actually click the button and leave a rating in a pop-up mode. And then as the ratings start coming in, it populates and it leaves us the aggregate rating. So we already know we have that, but now what we're after is review schema. So where the idea came from is basically a search for how to play guitar, where I saw another result where instead of rating based on a number, it was based on a percentage and votes. So when we actually look at this entry, okay, we can see up here in the top corner, 83% of this, 83% of readers found this article helpful, and then you can leave a stars only review. You're not, or I should say a stars only rating. You're not actually leaving a review where you're typing a message saying your thoughts. You're just basically voting on this. So this person is using something called article schema, where they're adding a schema to this page and making the article the subject of the schema, but they're still applying an aggregate rating for that article, and that's related to the star ratings only. So we went ahead and built that in, and it looks like this. So here's that same site, How to Make Money with Bitcoin. And now we have the ability to rate a specific article. So what I'm going to do is take you over to Project Supremacy, and I'm going to show you how to set up your blog to have the star ratings only, so that you can have people rate things like your blog posts, your articles, your recipes, if you have music tabs, stuff like that. I'm going to show you how to set that up and put this on using Project Supremacy v3. Okay, so here we are inside of Project Supremacy v3 inside of the schema builder. So what we're going to do first is we're going to grab the URL that we know has perfectly built schema in order to get the ratings and whatnot in Google. And then we're going to go to our schema duplicator and we're going to duplicate that. So I'll just hit the duplicator button and I'll put in the URL that I want, the schema name of the schema that I'm building. And we're going to actually build this schema for a post on my blog called How to Buy Ripple. So this is my How to Make Money with Bitcoin.net site, and this is just a blog post where I have an article on exactly how to buy a cryptocurrency called Ripple. So we're going to add our rating schema to that, and basically it's going to be our article schema, but then we're going to allow people to rate the article. So we'll call it How to Buy XRP, and we're going to save it to this schema group, How to Make Money with Bitcoin, because that's the site that it's going to go on. So I'm going to run the duplicator. And there it sees the article schema. I'm going to proceed with the duplication and see how fast it actually is. So then what we can do is open up How to Make Money with Bitcoin. Okay, and there's our article schema for how to buy Ripple. And you can see there's a bunch of nested schema types. There's the aggregate rating, image, object, organization, person, web page. There's even further nested schemas within each one of these. So you can see like the organization has image objects for probably their logo, and then probably the page that has the feature image on the actual page. So what you're going to want to do at this point, when you do have a schema type that you're going to use, like we're going to rate an article, so we're going to put an article schema on that page and put star ratings on it. The one thing you want to do when you're duplicating schema is you want to make sure you go through each of the blue icons, because those are the editable icons, whereas the gray ones are just the type. Okay, you can see this gray set of blocks is an aggregate rating schema. This gray set of blocks is an article schema, but the editable feature of this article schema is the blue one. So if we click on that, okay, you'll see that it loaded the article schema for how to make or how to buy XRP. Then what we can do from here is look at all the schema properties that are available to us within article, or we can look at only the ones they chose to use by choosing to hide the unfilled schema properties. So if I click this, all the stuff that hasn't been filled out disappears, and we only see the actual fields or properties of schema that company used. Now you want to make sure to change all this information to the stuff that's relevant to your blog post. Obviously, this is not going to be an article schema for how to play guitar. It's going to be an article schema for buying Ripple. So I'm not going to go ahead and change this while we're live. The one thing I am going to do to change it though is I am going to change the aggregate rating so that it's going to display properly when we put in our star rating. We're basically going to start fresh from 0. So what I'll do is I'll show the properties. Okay, and we're going to set our best rating, our worst rating count, and things like that. Our rating value, we're going to delete that. Okay, our rating count, we're going to delete that. Okay, and then I'm going to open this up and we're going to look for our worst rating, because those are really the only two that we're going to have. So let's add a worst rating and a value of 1. That means the worst rating that can be given is a 1 and the best rating that can be given is a 100. So let me save that schema and show you what it looks like. Okay, there we go. Now our aggregate rating, best rating is 100, worst rating is 1. That's all we actually have to fill out in order to properly inject our aggregate rating schema into our article. So that's the correct setup. We don't have to worry about any of the other stuff. If you wish to, you can go in and fill in things like description, provide an image and stuff like that. However, because this is a child schema of the article schema, you'll notice that most of that's already going to be there for you anyway. So I'm going to open that up. Okay, you can see article, and then there's our article schema, and part of that article schema is an aggregate rating. So what it's actually rating is the parent of itself, which is the article. Okay, so that's kind of redundant to do it twice. So if I go over to our actual article schema and look at our properties, you can see they've already filled in the date, modified, published, a description, a headline, images, the name, stuff like that. So that's already all been filled out for us. So it's redundant to do it twice in the other schema. So once again, just remember, go through each and every individual schema and change every property to the content that is related to your actual post. The duplicator is just going to pull in all of their schema so that you get the structure right, but the actual data entries, you're going to have to go in and change things over. If you wish to add anything, once again, just click on the eyeball to show all the schema properties of the article type or whatever type you're on that aren't used, and then you can go ahead and click on the plus button if you do want to add those, and always remember to click save schema after you're done working. Now, once our schema is done, we have to go assign it to the page. So the next thing we're going to do is go over to our websites tab, and then we're going to search for our domain that we're working on, and then we're going to go into the manage website function, and we're going to go over to schemas. Okay, this particular one is going to be a per page schema because we're going to assign this page to a specific page, and we're going to look for XRP or how to buy, or maybe Ripple. Okay, there it is, how to buy Ripple. So we're going to select this page to be edited, and then what we'll do is we're going to drag our schema over, okay? And when you drag a top level schema, all the children come with it. So there we go, we've dragged it over and the green button has popped up saying it's saved. And just to kind of explain it further, what I mean by when you drag a parent schema over, the children come with it. If I go back over to our schema for that particular site, okay, and we look at how to make money with Bitcoin. Okay, if I open up the article schema, you can see these are all the children schemas of the parent. The parent is article, but there's a bunch of nested stuff within article. So all you have to do is drag over article. Everything else comes with it, okay? So the last thing that we got to do now that we have the schema built, or sorry, we have the schema duplicated, we've updated all our fields to have our own information, we saved our schema, then we assigned our schema to the page. Now all we have left to do really is add the stars to the page so that people can vote on it, and that's very, very simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up V3 reviews. Okay, and we're going to go over to the customization tab. This is where you can customize what things start looking like. I won't go into this too much in detail. You can see there's one for ratings and there's one for reviews. So this is, if you want to customize how your ratings box is going to look, you would come down to the ratings field and you can change like the text and the heading colors and the information text. This is actually going to get worked on. We're going to have more customization features very, very soon. But once you're happy with the customization and the look of it, then you need to install it. So what we'll do is we're going to go over to shortcodes, okay, and we're going to grab the shortcode for displaying reviews. You can see used to display the review widget where users can leave their reviews. In this case, they're going to leave a rating. So what we're actually going to do is make sure that we have this option enabled. Stars only displays the review widget in stars only mode. So we're going to grab this short code. Okay, I'm going to copy that. We're going to go back to our page, or our post in this case. And we're going to look for the Ripple post, how to buy Ripple. And then I'm going to edit this. And we're going to actually now add in that short code, which will in turn add the stars functionality for people to be able to add their rating to the page. So let's go ahead and add it to the top. So what I'll do is I'll go over the text side so that we can see everything properly. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to add that in. So there's our short code. Now I can go back over to the visual side because there's one more thing I want to add. And I'm just going to add a line, okay, just to kind of create a little bit of separation there. And then I'm just going to read our short code. So I want my pop-up mode to be 0. I don't want it to be a pop-up. I want it to show up on the page. I do want the stars only showing up as a 1, and I want the alpha mode off, okay? And the alpha mode just means it's going to strip all the design functionality that you did on the customization side and just show it basically as the same as what the blog does. So I can show you the difference of that. So now what I'm going to do is update the page. Okay, and then what we can go do is view the page. So all we had to do is put in that short code and change our functionality of how the short code works. Now we can load the page, and what you'll see now is that we have our empty ratings here, right? So now if we want, we can actually even send this page into the Google Structured Data Testing tool. So I'm going to grab the URL, and I've already got this the Structured Data Testing tool open. So we're going to do a new test, and we're going to run that test. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at our schema, see if there's any errors. If there is errors, we can always go back to our schema builder and fix any errors that Google's telling us that are there, and we'll know exactly how to find them. So there you go. There's our article schemas there. It's showing 2 errors. So we're just going to scroll down and look for the errors. And one is field rating value may not be empty. And the other one is one of the rating count or rating review must be provided. Now, if you remember, I said the only thing we're going to add to our aggregate rating was the best rating and the worst rating. Now, the reason I'm saying that and the reason that we did that is because we're going to actually allow the real ratings that are coming live onto this page control those elements. It's already built into the functionality of Project Supremacy v3 schema. So as soon as people start leaving reviews, those will populate and these will become error free. So let's go ahead and show you that example. Okay, so I'm going to leave our first review and let's just do a 4-star review. And remember that we said our worst rating was going to be a 1 and our best rating was going to be 100, but we're not giving it a rating of 1 to 100 with stars. We're basically giving it a rating of 1 to 5, but we're going to translate that. We have a functionality built in and a math equation that basically will do the proper math for you in order to show the percent over 5. So each one of these stars with a best rating of 1 and a worst rating of 100 is basically worth 20%. So this would be 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. If you set your worst review to something like 30, the first star would be 30, and then the next star would be an increment leading up to the 5th star being 100. So that's all that functionality and mathematical equation is already built in. It all happens automatically. So you can see, thank you for leaving your rating. We have our first rating in. So now all we have to do is we're going to go back into our Project Supremacy v3 and reviews. So we'll go here and the review is going to go into a queue to be approved. So I can go to reviews. And if I look at, I can organize my reviews by unapproved reviews. So I only want to see stuff that's been unapproved. You can see there is our first how to buy Ripple review. So what I'm going to do is approve that now. Okay. So now once that's approved, if I go back over to the page and refresh it, where instead of it saying no ratings yet, why not leave one? When I refresh it, it'll now show a score for the ratings that have been left. So you can say users have rated this article 75%. Awesome. So now let's even go ahead and look at our structured data testing tool to see if it takes out the errors for the rating value field being empty and the normalization of ratings. We're going to just run this test again. Okay, and while we're waiting for that to happen, what I'll do is I'll actually turn on the alpha mode so that you can see the difference. So I'm going to update with alpha mode turned on. Okay, so this is alpha mode off, but when I refresh this page, alpha mode comes on, it strips all the background design that we did and just makes it a very, very plain design that fits in better with your WordPress background. So that's the difference of alpha mode. And then of course the other mode that we could edit is the pop-up mode. If I turn this to a 1, okay, and I'll turn the alpha mode back off so that we can see the difference. I will update that. And then once that is saved, we can click on the refresh button. And now instead of being able to submit the review, it just shows what did you think of this article, and when they click it, this pops up and now they can leave their review. So you get to be able to choose this text. We're also going to be upgrading this so that you have the option to show a really nice button here, but it just shows you some of the functionality. But now that the reviews have been left, we've ran it through Google Structured Data Testing Tool. Now you'll notice the article actually has 0 errors. So if we open that up and we scroll down to aggregate rating, you'll see our best rating is 100, our worst rating is 1. We have 1 rating in there and it has a value of 75.25, which is basically what a 4-star rating is. And the math I know is a little bit funny for most of you guys. You would figure a 4-star rating is actually an 80%, but the math is actually correct on here. We've done it and we had a huge equation, and I can actually show you how that works. So let me grab that spreadsheet for you. Okay, here's the spreadsheet that'll show all you kind of math heads how we turn a 5-star rating into a score out of 1 of 100 and do it with correct math. So we have a bunch of variables at play. So we'll just lay them out like this. In our schema, we assigned our best rating as a score of 100, and we assigned our worst rating as a score of 1. We're representing those with BR for best rating, WR for worst rating. We have to take into account the star rating value that the user gives. So that's basically 1 to 5 stars. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And then of course, we have our aggregate rating, which is an average of all the star rating values that we get in. So basically the way that we have to do this is kind of a complicated formula. Okay, and you can see it represented right here. And what this basically means is if you take the first star as the worst rating, so if you only got a rating of 1 star, that would be the worst rating you can get, and that's going to be a score of 1. So 1 star would represent 1 unless you change the worst rating to something else in your schema. But for this sake, we're going to just make it a single 1. So you're going to add the star rating value of 1 to the first star, but then you have to come up with a value for, well, how much are each additional stars worth? So what you do is you take the difference between the best rating and the worst rating and you divide it by the 4 remaining stars. And in this case, it would be 100 minus 1, which is 99, and you divide that by 4. So you see E3 minus F3, which is represented by E3 of 100, F3 of 1. Okay, so you subtract the 1 from the 100, and then you divide that by 4, and then you multiply it by the amount of stars that somebody gave. So the E3 minus F3 divided by 4 becomes the incremental value of each remaining star. Okay, and that's a static value amongst the last 4 stars. But then if someone only gives you 2 stars, it's only an increment of 1. So the 2 stars would be represented by G3, and then you minus 1, which is the initial star that's already there. And I'm probably complicating a lot of you, but the formula works. So if we look at it, okay, if someone gives you 5 stars, you're going to get a score of 100. Where if someone gives you 1 star, you're going to get a score of 1. Okay, a 2-star rating would be 25.75. A 3-star rating would be 50.5. A 4-star rating would be 75.25. This is the most fair and accurate way to base a 5-star rating system, but turn it into a score that we can turn into a schema percentage, such as something like 50.5%. Okay, and that gets represented in the article. Okay, and remember, we only gave it a 4-star rating, but you can see the score is 75% awesome. Or if we look in the structured data testing tool, it's showing as a 75.25. So we're going to round it down. And remember, that user, that first rating that I put in was a 4-star rating, and it's giving a value out of 100 of 75.25. Why such a weird number? You can see it represented right here. A 4-star rating is 75.25 or 75.25. Now, if you want to pad your ratings, okay, meaning your worst rating value, you want to make it something more like a 25 or a 20, for instance, where each star value is now going to be worth 20, that would give you the perfect numbers, where the worst rating, 1 star, would be a 20. Each individual star after that would also be assigned a value of 20, and that's why we have perfect math here, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. The other thing you could do is say, look, if someone gives me a 1 star, I want the worst rating of that 1 star to actually be a 50. Okay, where you can see now a 1 star rating is 50, a 2 star 62.5, 75, 87, and 100. So it's just a complicated math formula that we built into Project Supremacy v3 so that your star ratings are always fair, but always based on what you supply as the best rating and the worst rating. So we're going to set this back to 1. Okay, and that's how we got 75.25. So then the final thing is we take all the rating values. So let's say someone rated us a 5, a 3, a 4, okay, and a 2. Okay, you can see these are our values, and all we have to do to get our aggregate rating score is basically take an average of the values that have been input over, this was 5 stars or 5 ratings were input. These were the values, and we come out with an aggregate rating of 70.3. So let's go ahead and give a 5, a 5, a 3, a 4, and a 2, and I'll show you that it'll come out the same. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to do another 5, and then I'm going to refresh the page. And then once it pops up again, I'm going to give it, so we have 2, no, the first one was a 4, the second one was a 5. So we're going to do another 5. Okay, and then I'm going to refresh the page again. So now we have 2 5s and a 4. The next we'll do a 3. So that rating is now in. So I'm going to F5 it again, and the last one is going to be a 2. So finally, we're going to give it a 2. Okay, so now all these same ratings are in. We've literally copied this table. All I have to go do now is once again approve them. So I'm going to refresh the unapproved reviews, and we're going to go in and approve them. Okay, so now I'm going to refresh the page, and we should see an average rating of a 70%, replace the 75%. Okay, and there we go. So now you see it's at 70%, and if we go into the structured data testing tool, so we're going to send this over to Google, and they're going to reread this page's aggregate rating as well as the schema and stuff like that, and you'll see we should have in the end a 70.3 showing up as our actual score in the aggregate rating. Okay, and there you go. Our rating value is a 70.3. So that's how you guys are going to be able to input your star ratings into your blog posts, your recipes, your guitar tabs, any articles that you're writing. You can do that. Just remember, guys, the only notes that I want to give you is that it is important what you choose your worst rating and your best rating to be. If you want the 5 stars to simply represent 20 points each, set your worst rating to a 20. You'll get a perfect scale. If you want it to be from 1 to 100, okay, it is going to come up a little bit different in the math, so I just wanted to explain that to you and show you why that happens. So hopefully you guys like this video and you get out there and start applying article schemas, blog post schemas, recipe schemas, and just all these great schemas with review ratings on your sites. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.